Thank you so much, Henry. I was shazamming all the music. Now we shift our focus to a fascinating fireside chat on success through swarm communication. Swarm. Our speakers today will unravel what is swarm and how swarm principles can transform team dynamics, promoting greater agility and success. Can we please welcome on stage our speakers, Rhonda L. Bowen, Global Strategic Communication Guide at Bells, and Dr. Jihan Zaharan, who is the co-founder of Via Egypt Consultancy. Can we have a round of applause for them, please? Thank you.
Hello. Hi. Sometimes I like just to speak while I'm standing, as I'm having professor all the time, so I like to chat with you directly. So, fireside chat. Is anybody knows what means fireside chat? Like a fire. It is fire. So what means fireside chat? Yeah, it is. Sit around talk. How did it start? It started, I think, in 1930 and 1940 in the United States of America. That's President Franklin. All right. He was speaking in informal way, not professional way. It was like in a radio talk, and he was talking to his people actually in a very critical challenges, in a depression and in the wider world too. So from that time, fireside chat started to talk in an informal way, talking in an easily between people in different topics. So I just started to say what means fireside chat first to tell you how it goes. So it is not a very professional talk together, but it's maybe it's a very important topic. I'm just really honored to be with you, Dr. Donald. And so if you're gonna start with me first, and then we can talking with this. I have like 15 minutes or 10.
15 would be nice.
15 would be nice.
I've got a lot of fun things for us to do today.
So I'll give you 5 minutes from my side. Okay. Maybe today I'm going to talk about something that really related to the business wide. So from the business model, we all know that it has 9 blocks, right? So you know the 9 blocks of the business model. I'm going to go today into one of these blocks called partnerships, right? In any business, I'm not talking about the entrepreneur or all the big organizations actually, talking about their partnerships, which is already making them less of every effort and all the aspects that they can do in the future for making the business so easy and small. Definitely, I'm going to talk about a concrete model, which is my own model. Tomorrow, I have another panel, which is I can talk really about how we're going to do it in the governmental side, which is I have an initiative with the government, actually, for Ministry of Youth. And that model specifically will be a concreted things. Maybe we can talk about it later, once we don't have time these three. But today, maybe I'm going to focus about how the importance of partnerships in a model of the business for the entrepreneurship. As the entrepreneurs, we can get the next slide. So, resource pooling. So definitely, resource pooling, this is one of the value for partnership. Did anybody tell me about resource pooling? I think it's clear from the topic. Yeah, resource. So when I just have a partnership with any partners, that it can be value first to me, so I have to choose the partner first. I have to know what I am dealing with. So he has resources. These resources will be communicating with me, and these resources will be my resources as well, all right? So now what I'm doing is just to increase my resources easily, all right? So one of the samples for this I can tell you about, for example, in the higher education, I got a partnership with one of the big company, like for example, like Medtronic company, and Medtronic has a department of research center, all right? This research center is funded already, the researches for the students or grads. So as a stakeholder relation director, I communicated with the company, which can be communicated with the medicine school, in engineering school, that communicate with the students to give them more researches and give them fund, and all the time that it have been more resources. So as I am a university taking so many privileges from that partnership. I have definitely the most recent resources in the whole world for my students. I can combine the ranking, all right, for my university also, global ranking. It will help me in the accreditation and ranking between all the universities in the whole world. Moreover, I will have a new department, which is already something will be enhanced the level of education for my students. So I have so many things, resources for this company. I now communicating with it. And definitely there is all other samples like that. Maybe in the business school also we can do something like dual degree. So when I have a dual degree with any other universities, which can be combined with my university, same thing. Next slide. Diverse skill set. Again, when I am having this actually, the combination of the partnership between me and the other partners, I will go diverse skill set. So does anybody tell me that what means to you diverse skill set? Just give me a concept, idea, thought. Yes? Yes? Yeah. Definitely, yeah, it's a part of it. Yeah, so. Again, please. What you have to others. So it means like, what? The channel of being vice versa of skills between my entity and the other entity, right? So definitely, as I think you mentioned before about the skills of presentation skills. So for example, I have the partner which is really have a very good level, which is I choose it mainly, that it can be value added to me. And that will make something for diverse skill set for my organization, all right? And the people who is really to be leaders, not managers. And you know the between leaders and managers as well. So they are completely different. When I see my employee, someone who will come to me and tell me the problem and how to solve it, and even the problem and how to get the way of it. So I know that he's proactive. He just have a skill. That's being a leader, not a manager. That's actually having lots of things that we can talk about it. But I will give you the sample and steps how this partnership or any partnership can be a value added to that. Definitely, we will not accept the consultancy for doing that. Any consultancy, or as I am a consultant actually to most of the organizations, so you can have also the resources, the skills of my connections as a consultant to this company that I'm consulting. So that's also a kind of partnership or indirect partnership that it can be a value added to any organization. Next, risk mitigation. So as an entrepreneurship, as an organization that they're gonna start with, we have lots of risks directly, right? But when I have a partners, so many partners that can be helpmate us to divide that risk. It's gonna be only my own risk. It's gonna be divided. I'm gonna have this risk and he will be with me because I'm gonna have positioning in the market once I have a partners. Okay, but especially again, I'm gonna continue again. Who's the partner that you are going to be with? This is very important thing. There is lots of criteria that I have to choose my partner in. Next, increased creativity, definitely. My own skill is not enough. Even if I am a big organization, I having lots of employees, I having lots of departments, I having consultants as well, but in the same time, this is not enough, completely not enough. There is one unique organization that can be stand alone. And even if they are so big and they are just close to themselves, we all know in business school, we got the case of Nokia, okay, connecting people and how they are, this model, I'm teaching it till now. 60% of the whole world, they were buying Nokia in that time, but what happened to Nokia after that? Why? Exactly. No, they stopped communicating. They stopped making, like going up into the world. They just close to themselves and they think that they are the best. And that's the most dangerous things in the business. You have to be open. Sharing, I will not say caring like we say, but sharing in business in a limit, of course, that it give you another limit of making your business creative. Comes to the creation way. Like we are here, by the way, in UAE, especially in Dubai, it's open market. You can do that, and you can see this. My business is here, and I see maybe a similar business in another way, but we are open. So it's not like before. You have to be open, and you have to share, and you have to interact, and you have to know what's going on here. At least, I will not say just to be more, but at least to be stable, all right? Next one, access to network. Oh, definitely. I think it's very clear to know this access to network. My network is not enough as an organization. And even if I'm an entrepreneur and starting, this is completely not enough. But how can I increase my network? Before we were buying the data, as you know. And most of the organization now collecting data is the most important thing just to improve your business. How can you invite this? How you can know the target segment people to being attracted to your own business. So in partnership, you have an access to network easily by your partners, okay? So you're gonna share data. For example, that, as I told you before, that when we just stick to the who is my partner is, I have to focus who are their clients that it can be integrated to my business, and it can be sharing a network even in a certain limit or degrees that. So access to network completely, it's something that really we can having easily with the right partnership and with so many partnerships. The partnerships also, it can be just a kind of access network and resources. You have free resource. You have someone who just work with you with no cost. because he's going to get something which is not actually that kind of be, and he will take from you the same thing. So access to network is something that really easily that you get it from the right partnership, and it can be easily for that making this. Next one, workload distribution. Okay. As actually I'm just having here in UAE in the Middle East and before in the States, workload distribution. Before I get started with this, anybody having an idea about workload distribution? How it can be a value added for partnership? Workload? Anybody will share? I'll give you a star, by the way, that's you're always participating. I'm sorry that the mic can be go there. Actually, maybe I can hear you, but the rest cannot. Can you have a mic? Can we have a mic? Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, the workload distribution is like balancing the workload. Normally in the production side, in the manufacturing, in the production line, there are 10 people are assembling certain components. So the one guy is overloaded, then there he becomes the bottleneck. So in the case of workload distributions, we can divide the workload uniformly, the balancing the workload, that you can output can be more productive than normal.
Exactly, yeah.
It's
So
like,
anybody need to add something?
Yeah, it's like 1 plus 1 is equal to 3.
Excuse me?
1 plus 1 is equal to 3.
One question? Okay. That's a big equation. Thank you. So anybody? Yes.
Yeah, so I run a marketing organization, and I practically experienced the benefits of offloading the work or distributing the work. So when we have a certain bandwidth in a company, right? Certain number of resources available. But when you have a lot more projects coming to you and you don't want to deny that, you always can distribute that work and get more resources from your partnership and collaborations and continue the business relationship with your existing clientele. So that really helps, and that has helped me in the past as well.
Definitely. Thank you for the adding.
Can I
Yes.
add?
Outsourcing. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's outsourcing. Yes?
I guess.
Yeah. No. Make it. Yeah. Yeah. But it is. It gives definitely a balance. Workload distribution that actually that it comes from all what you said, plus that we can having, like now in the nowadays, I will not say pandemic again, I will say now all the world is open, so I can make my branch in one of the worlds, in another in Germany or in Europe and in the States and in Africa and in Asia, and when I'm here, right? So definitely just because I have a partner, out resource, this having a data and network, and I will not cost anything, definitely. Moreover, and maybe I will just telling you that workload distribution will be as it can be less effort than before. Again, this is actually what from the global perspective way for partnerships. Actually, I lived in KSA for a while, and the most thing that is going to be actually doing it in the Middle East right now is partnership. The global perspective, all the world is connecting to something, and all the organization, they have connecting in one of the point, and this point can lead to all of them, the value propositions. So they have one objective, but in different way. And I can deal from that, I can deal from here, and finally, I can workload distribution. Next. I'm done. So, finally, I'll just give you a concrete model of that. And this is actually what I'm always saying in one of the most conferences and an awareness about this. Stakeholder Relations Center, okay? Stakeholder Relations Center is a combination between three things: marketing, communication, and PR. This center is very essential to any organization, right? Before, it was like, till now, by the way, it's just an, what I guess say, it's personal initiative, all right? So any department of any organization that they are having something, and this dean or that manager or this CEO or that director of the marketing, he just have a nice partnership to the organization and it works well, but there is no plan. There is no communication plan. So the communication plan, as I'm talking about, this comes from the Stakeholder Relations Center. This center, this should be in any organization, he having a plan ahead. Which partner I have to go and put and make a deal with them and make an MOE and just having a contract with them to be a benefit and value added to me. This should be a head plan, and then you can go for it. And believe me, that's gonna transform the business 180 degree. Thank you, and I'm really honored just to be here with you. Yes, now for my partner.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful way to get started. I come from the country originally from the US where Fireside Chat started as a part of World War II. Our president at the time, Franklin Roosevelt, sat, and everybody sat in the room just like you're doing now, but at home, and listened to the radio and listened to what Mr. Roosevelt was saying about what was happening in the world. So I want you to feel comfortable just as if you were sitting at home. And we're going to do something now that's slightly different from what we've been doing so far. Henry and I live very close to each other, although he didn't know that. I live on the Dutch border in Germany. And he started the things this morning, and we're here to now, this is the Chief Experience Officer Conference. So I want to have us have an experience together. And to do that first, there are some nice folks who should have given you this little tiny card. Do you all have one of these? If not, we have to check with someone. What I'd like you to do, first of all, is just put your name and your email address on this, because we're going to start with the experience part. And the experience part is, you get to see if you can win a prize by answering this question. The question is, when was the word success first used officially in the English language? So that is a year, that's 4 numbers. It could be something like 1859, or it could be something like 1232, but it's neither of those, it's somewhere in between. So you take a moment and you think, what is the year for the first time that the word success was officially used in the English language? And you write under your name and email address, you write down the year you think that is, and there's going to be a drawing for a prize afterwards, so the person who's closest will win the prize. And now I'd like us to think a little about success and what it means. And you'll find it may be very strange that I'm not using slides, because I want us to experience something, and this has nothing to do with me, it has to do with the subject, but it also has to do with how you experience things. And making things very natural for people means telling stories. I spell success with one letter less, so S-U-C-C-E-S, no second S. And you may say, well, that's kind of strange, Rhonda, what happened to the second S? It's still there when you write it, but when I write it, it's not. So when I write it, it's 6 different letters with a word for each one. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell you 6 little quick stories. And at the end of each story, take a moment to think about what word that could go with, but you don't have to write it down, because you're going to get something about this later, so you don't have to take any notes. And the first story for the first S is last year, something happened to me that I don't wish for any of you. I lost my entire Outlook account. Everything. All the emails, all the calendar entries, all the contacts, everything. I hope that never happens to you. But if it does, I hope you have the person on the other end of the line, like I had a gentleman at Microsoft, because he spent 8 weeks, sometimes time every single day with me, for 8 weeks until I got most of my Outlook back. What's the first word that starts with S? Keep it in mind. Wait, you'll get all the answers in a moment, all right? The U stands for a word, and I'm telling the story of an organization I belong to, which is called Seroptimist International. Seroptimist International is an organization worldwide for women for over the past 100 years, who makes it their point to improve the lives of women and girls throughout the world. We have 4 levels. We have an international level, a global level, then we have a regional level, then we have a national level, and then we have a local level. And we all speak different languages and do different things, but in the end, we are all doing things, including being part of the United Nations, to make sure that the lives of women and girls are made better and better as time goes on. So think about what could be the U word, right? Then we have 2 C's. The first C word is about, I'm going to tell you a story about a client. She works for a big SaaS company, and she's the head of implementation. Well, if you know much about SaaS, you know we start with pre-sales, and then implementation, and then support, and then maintenance. There are 5 departments. They all talk to the same customer, except in a lot of cases, the things they were talking about inside the company were not what was going out to the client. So there was all this confusion. There were all these misunderstandings. The client was always confused. What was missing was the C. Think about what that could be. Then we have a second C when we write success. And I love to tell the story of Nelson Mandela's father. You may know this already. This is a very common story. He was the chief of a tribe, and he believed that when they had tribal council meetings, everybody should come in and sit first. He came in at the end. And what happened then, whatever the topic of discussion was, he let everybody in the room say something first, and then he gave his point of view. That did 2 things. Number 1, it showed the respect for everyone in the room, not just him as the chief. But second of all, nobody was just saying what he had said or what he thought that he wanted to hear. So he was the role model for everybody that was working on this project and having their say in this council meeting. Now we come to E. The E word is an interesting one, and I'm going to tell the story of a place where I used to live, and I still live very close to there. It's a city called Cologne in Germany. And it is very well known in the months of January and February for a festival called Carnival, which is part of the Christian rites before Lent starts for Easter. And in Cologne, Carnival is the most wonderful months and months of parties and festivals and parades and music, and people wear all kinds of costumes. And it's an absolutely wonderful time, and everybody loves it because the thing that happens in Cologne is they believe that everybody is slightly different and should do things in the way that is best for them. And so everybody goes and does things for Carnival in very different ways, and that's very important because it has something to do with the E. And the last S is for those of us who are in business. I have a feeling we're doing business not just for us to do business, and we've heard a lot about that this morning already. We're doing it because we think we want to give back to the world. Anything that we're getting from our business, many of us are looking for a place to improve the lives of other people. And when we do that, we have millions of organizations we could choose from. And how do we know where we should be spending our time, donating our money, all of those things to help these people? Well, there's an organization in the world called B1G1, Buy One, Give One. And they give you the opportunity, as a business person, to decide which of those organizations you'd like to support, and they provide an entire ecosystem to do this. We're very proud to be part of that organization as well. And so the S, the last S, has something to do with that. So now I've given you a chance to hear some things about stories, and we're going to show what those things are in a moment. But what I'd like you to do first is, if you've got your little card in front of you with your name and your email address and a year, I'm also going to be giving away, after today's session, a $5,000 consultancy package. And if you would like to have a chance to work with me, make sure you write a P, because you would have the chance then to win the grand prize. And so what's going to happen now is somebody is going to come to the table and is going to pick up all of those little cards that you've been writing on. So I get those back, but you are now going to get a gift, a new card. It's a bigger card. It looks like this. And somebody will be coming to your table now and taking the small cards and giving you this new card. And when that happens, you will see what all of those words are, and that's why I said you don't have to write everything down, because we've got it all. So the first one was the story of me losing my outlook, and it stands for service. The gentleman who was helping me so much was making sure I was being served, and you will see on the card there are little symbols for everything. You know these kind of bells in a hotel. You ring the bell, you get service. So that's the first one. Then we had the seroptimists who were working to make sure everybody was together and working on a big project. And that stands for unity. You know these people who stand on the street and are demonstrating for something they really believe in? They're all unified. They're holding hands to make sure that they all are standing together for something. That's unity. That's the second part of success. Then we had something about making sure that all the people in a company and with their customers were connected. Connections are like a chain with all the links working together to make sure that everything keeps moving and make sure that it happens. Then we have the second C, the story of Mr. Mandela's father. I personally believe that the second C is character. And I like to think of character as somebody who is a lighthouse, is the person who's shining their light out to highlight other people, and is the strong foundation for what is happening in the places where there are many storms. So think of that as being something like a lighthouse. Then we have all of the things for E, which is expression. In Cologne Carnival, everybody expresses themselves in a very different way. And we have all the nice things. I'm not going to pull them all out of the box because we don't have enough to put them here, but a candle, for example, to show how to enlighten things. We need to be able to see well. Then we need to be able to hear well. That's why we're all using microphones today, to make sure everybody in the room can hear. Then we need to be able to smell things. Smell is the thing that goes into the middle of our brain. It's the thing we remember more than anything else in our lives. We maybe don't think of it very much at business, but like essential oils are a wonderful way to bring in smell. Tasting. Something that tastes really good, like Henry's cookies, for example, are something that really reminds us of how we can express ourselves. And touching. Things that you can touch, things that have a special feel for your hand, and touching also for your heart is something that is really important as well. And the sixth one, the story with B1G1 and how to bring all the things together, for me, is like a jigsaw puzzle. when you've got so many different pieces, and how are we bringing them all together, and how are we getting the solution at the end when we have this beautiful picture with all the butterflies? We have the opportunity to make sure that all the pieces come together and make a beautiful picture. So now you've had the chance to turn in your card, you've had a chance to look at this, but now if you look at the back, you turn it over, the card is printed on both sides, you can see. What's on the back are 6 methods that I have created to make sure that you can co-create your success with other people. So for each of the words, there is one special way of having conversations with people, and they are listed here. We don't have time to get into all of those things today, otherwise. But of course, when we do this, we then have the chance to have the right conversations. We have the chance to co-create the success that we're looking for. And so, after we've had our talk today, and we have a moment now to ask if you have any additional questions, either to Jihan or to myself, we'd love to make sure that you have a chance, if you're interested in finding out about how these little sessions work. This evening, we will have our networking here in the room until 6 p.m. I will be here and stay after the networking section, and if you'd like to join us, we'll be sitting at a table or two and actually having a chance to look at how to do these different kinds of conversations and give you an opportunity to try this out. We'll be talking about the things for your success, the conversations that you want to have that are important. And therefore, I would love to say to your success, both professional and personal, and thank you so much for your time today. And now if there are any additional questions, either for me or for Jihan, we still have 15 minutes according to the clock to take any other questions you have. I don't know where the microphone is. There's a nice lady in the back. Can we make sure she gets a microphone? Yeah, but it should be here on the stand. Yeah. Have we found a microphone? Wait, there's the microphone. Thank you, Ryan.
Okay. Thank you for the session today. I have a question on this session and building up as well on the session of the morning, VUCA. So I'm a supply chain leader. So VUCA is part of our daily business. So my question is, in order to operate successfully in VUCA world, there is certain types of leadership that you need to adopt. So I believe inclusive leadership need to be there. Now, implementing this kind of leadership or applying it might take time, while sometimes you need to really run fast, especially in the supply chain world, in order to facilitate decision making. Now, what are the tips and techniques from the success and communication standpoint that can help us as supply chainers to drive for change in VUCA world, knowing that sometimes the leadership style will take time in order to get what we want?
Thank you very much. I'll start first and then give you a chance to say something as well. I'd like to say that the world has always been VUCA. Before the 1980s, we just didn't have a good word for it. And therefore, and we've heard this morning that that is also evolving as a term, and there are other terms that have very similar things. I personally believe that the fact that leadership takes time is important because anything that is worth doing is worth taking the time for. And one of the gentlemen this morning mentioned the guy who was shouting and throwing things at people. I think what we need to do is make sure that we understand what we're doing for ourselves and how that is affecting the other people. And the best way to do that, of course, is be in a good form of communication. But the other thing I think that's really important is that not everybody defines success in the same way. I gave you my ideas for success this morning. That doesn't mean that everybody sees success the same way. So defining, first of all, what success is, and then deciding what steps need to be taken is something that I think a good leader should always be providing. I hope that's something that helps you with that. Jihan?
Right. Actually, when we talk about leadership, as you mentioned, it takes time, so it's worth to. So I'm getting as an educational consultant starting from the early years, right? So this leadership skill need to be built from the early years, in education, from elementary, to give them like the way and the self-confidence and the leadership skill. Then it comes to it as an integrated with their curricula. That's for the education side, because that's really important just to be focused. We all have the same issue with the students when they grad, they don't know where to go, okay? And that's really very challenging for all, actually, maybe in Europe and the States. The thing is a little bit flexible because the credit hours can be duplicated in another university and you can change easily. But most of the, like the other countries, that you have to stick to your own faculty till you finish, and then you get another courses to get the leadership skill to start your life. So I'm really recommending just for the early years for educators, just to get focusing on the leadership skill. Then we come to the business level. This is leadership, as I mentioned maybe in my this keynote, it's gonna be something related to the skills to be done in your employee. Definitely you have someone who's really have leadership skills. But he needs to be focused and he needs to be charmed. So from the leadership perspective, I can just go focus and know exactly who's gonna be the leader and then develop it. It's gonna be a part of the development professional in my organization. That's basically can be done from the HR department. But how it can be done, how it can be followed, that needs a criteria and a guideline. I think there is a question. Yeah.
Thank you. Is it working? Yes,
I think so,
wonderful.
yeah. Good morning, or good afternoon, rather. I'll ask you a very subjective questions. The first question I'll ask, based on what Jihan just said, do you think leaders are born or leaders can be trained?
Sorry, do I?
Are leaders born to lead or leaders can be trained to lead?
It can be both, by the way. I can be born as a leader and it can be trained later on. So, as you know, there is some of the gifted skills the students from the beginning, you know that they are leaders, okay? And definitely, everybody knows that. You find that in the classroom, who's gonna be leading you, even in the sport, even in the project, even so. So, there is some students, they have these skills of leadership from the beginning, and leadership can be trained, by the way. It can be something you can work on it.
But Jihan, the question is then, if you can train to lead, why is it that leadership then is not consistently developing the talent pool they have? The best example I can give you is a lion is born to hunt and lead. Is the king of the jungle. But you can train the lion to be a circus lion also. But it loses its edge. And after some time, forgets that it's a lion, that it can roar, it can scare people, it can do certain things, he has the might. So while leadership can be trained, I think my view on leadership is, it's like the VOCA terminology, like Rhonda said. You know, we I think overrate leadership. And we forget the basic necessity of developing. Now, what you mentioned, HR can take an active role. My previous 25 years of interactions with HR is at the time of hiring or firing. In between, I don't see HR.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's true for everybody else also. You either join them and you have a wonderful onboarding experience, and on your exit package, they give you an exit interview.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
How do you define leadership?
For me, leadership is consistently communicating the vision and the mission of the organization. Leadership is talking less, listening more. Leadership is highlighting the character, like Rhonda said, of people who are sitting around the table. If I'm going to lead an organization and I feel I'm the only one who can lead it, I don't need the people at the conference room table and waste 6 hours of their daily schedule in meetings and telling them what they should be doing. Leadership to me is delegation. Leadership to me is empowerment. Leadership to me is involvement. Leadership for me is empathy, not sympathy. I mean, forget the sympathy. Leaders don't even show empathy to their people. You know, and cultural influences on leadership are seen and have been documented over and over again. We always look on the West and say the leadership in the West is fantastic. We look on the East and we say, oh, they need our help. We look in the middle, developing markets or emerging markets. Oh, they don't have any leadership. They should rely on us. We are great leaders.
Yep.
I just have a fundamental, you can say that it's a passionate topic for me, like leadership. I just have a fundamental issue with the fact that people are saying that we can train people to lead. If you yourself are not able to manage yourself, you're never going to be able to lead. And if you're going to lead, you're going to fool yourself or fool others around you because you can lead, because the only person you're selfishly looking after is your own self.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I just wanted to share those thoughts.
Thank you for your insight. It's really, you set the guideline of leadership. But what I'm just saying, when I born as a leadership, when someone is born as a leader, he has the leadership skills, it means that he has the starting point, all right? So that's actually what I meant. So definitely it needs a guideline, it needs training, it needs to be on the right track to be a good leader, right? And definitely, you know, in the whole world we have ex-leaders, all right? So leaders, actually, it can be someone who's making a fire and someone who's making peace. So, and being a trainer, that we're having in the leadership, just to be having in the guideline, this is something gradually be done. Communication, soft analysis system. When I am a leader, I just, maybe in some organization they're gonna work, they give me just come and how this works in a nice way. So as you said, we have to listen and know who's doing what. And maybe that person in this position, he doesn't give productivity because it's not his skill to be in that position. So I have to make, like, as a leader, I have to know this person can be in other position that it can be done in another way. So, and thank you for your insight. And actually, it's a very interesting topic that leadership do.
It's a wonderful question. I've had the good fortune in my life to work with people from more than 70 countries one-on-one in the same room, and it's amazing to see what people think when you were mentioning the East versus the West versus everybody else, and we're putting people into boxes and we're categorizing. There's an old definition of leadership which says a leader is the person who people want to follow. It has nothing to do with how, it has nothing to do with culture, it has nothing to do with all of those wonderful things that you just mentioned that so many people sort of bank on to say, well, if I know how to do this, then I can be a good leader. Yes, that may be true in the situation you're in at the moment, with the way things are running at the moment, talking back to VUCA, talking back to the evolution of what is happening in the world, what is happening in our world now with AI, for example. Leaders are not all the people who are standing up and sitting on the stage like we are and with the microphones in our hand. There are many, many leaders in the world, and to go back to somebody that I think we all know about, which for me is the ultimate leader, is somebody like Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was not standing up and saying, here I am and you all have to listen to me. What he said was so inspiring and had so much wisdom for so many people that they wanted to follow. Nobody trained Mahatma Gandhi, you know, to do the things as you were saying today, and we didn't have meetings and all those things, yeah? So I think it has an awful lot to do with what's going on and to make sure that our perception of what should be happening for that person, for those people in that company, in that moment, are the right things to make them move forward and have success. Thank you so much for the question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks. I love swarm. It does sound a bit sinister, but I think it's a cool term. One of the things around level of apathy in the workforce, obviously after the pandemic, we were at home, we realized we didn't really like our lives or our jobs, and the workforce is having trouble kind of re-energizing, okay, and kind of really sort of getting going again. What are your tips kind of through Swarm, you know, even for, you know, in our company, people who are working remotely, do you know what I mean, kind of not really wanting in a way to connect because they're used to kind of being in their own sort of silos. What tips does Swarm have to kind of, as I said, like re-energize a apathetic and distributed workforce?
Okay. Well, the idea of swarm, as I said, comes from these things that are on the back of your card on the green side, you know? And the whole point for me about apathy and about energy in a company has a lot to do with the fact that we're not looking at how individual people need to be doing things with their energy. Because what energizes someone like me, for example, is sitting in front of all of you. And even if I hadn't slept for 3 days, I would have so much energy now because I'm getting it from you. Other people need their peace and quiet. Other people need to be able to think on their own. And if you're in a company where everybody's trying to do things all the same way, you're missing out on the opportunity to make sure that people re-energize the way they need to. And if they have the right level of energy, there won't be apathy. Because then people will be wanting to make their contribution in the way that's right for them, to then make sure that the success of the company is moving forward. And the whole idea of having swarm communication, as on the back of this card, is to make sure that you have different ways of talking about things. Different styles of communication are then given the respect that they need to be given, and people can bring themselves into the conversation in the way they want. And when that happens, and everybody feels good about what they're contributing, then everybody feels like they're moving forward as a group. And I personally think that would be something that could be helping in an organization today.
So tailoring your communication efforts
Yes.
to the individual rather than the blanket.
And co-creating the success, and making sure that everybody has the same idea of what success is for us. Because what the leader thinks is success, or what the head of this department thinks is success for this department, is not what's happening throughout the entire company. And if there isn't a good way to show how we're all in the same boat or on the same page, then it's going to be easy for people to drop off, to become apathetic. Well, nobody cares what I think anyway, so it doesn't matter. And that's the whole point. We're talking about experience here. A chief experience officer is somebody, as I said recently in a podcast with a gentleman from this field, experience means that you have to be doing things in a way that resonates with people, and not everybody's made the same, so it's different things that resonate with different people. And to find out what those are, and to make sure people are having those experiences, that for me is the way to success. Thank you very much.
For the
Yeah.
last minute, actually, I
Yeah.
have like a minute to answer you quick. For my answer to you, we come back to the stakeholder. Who is the stakeholders? And how their interests, and how you can communicate with the culture itself. So you have to study the culture of the place that you are working in first. And you have to find out a passion things to get started with. For example, in the workforce, in some of the organizations and one of the projects, actually the companies, so we do it with the ladies, for example, in places that they have just handcraft things. So I have to study the culture. I have to give them something passionate to work with me, and I have to communicate with them with their language, right? So actually this is something very essential when you have something that to be over the communication. Communication is something that we have common things together, so I have to come down, come up, come right, come left to the thing that you really have been interested to be attracted to me, right? Exactly with the early years, teachers, we're always giving them start with the warming up first minute, 60 seconds, to attract the students with something that he is really thinking right now. And I'm done. Time's up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We thank you so much for a wonderful session.